So some stories really disturb you, and some stories, I must say, they stay with you. And some definitely redefine justice. So, welcome to the 178th episode on our regular show, Trends Literature series. And today we really explore a fantastic book, Mission Saudi, written by two most fantastic writers, Alok ji and Maanas. They've been on our platform several times, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Welcome once
Thank
again.
you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with you here. And your questions are probing and they bring out facts which we want people to know.
Thank you so much, always for encouraging us. So, I must begin with Manas. Manas, what really drew you to the story? I mean, it's a very unusual story that you picked up this time. So, what really motivated you to actually bring this story to everybody? And you felt that people need to know about this. Like I, for one, didn't know about
Several
it.
things.
Yeah.
Several things. I think one, the chance to tell the story from the lens of a female protagonist was important. I think that is something we wanted to explore as writers. But what was perhaps more important was the plight of the victim in this case.
Absolutely.
This case needed to be told to the people because they need to understand what others go through, how fortunate they are. And also, this is a case where justice went beyond borders, and that is something encouraging for all those who are seeking justice in matters like this. So there was a moral lens to it. There was also the want to write something which was challenging. And as I said, the victim's travails, I think somewhere or the other inspired us to tell this story.
And Alokji, what do you think about this? Because how did you really build it up and do the research? I mean, there is a lot of research, a lot of things that you've written about extradition, about how the whole process took place. I'm sure there was a lot of research involved. So, how did it happen? How did you really find so much of time to write this book, which looks small, but it has a lot of details?
Is that question to me, ma'am?
Alokji, I was asking. Yeah.
Okay.
Any of you
Well,
can
thank you.
answer.
Actually, I'm glad you brought this up because I know that some of these things, like extradition, are processes to which even a police officer, most police officers are not exposed. And the law is rather intricate in a way because we have different treaties with different countries. How to go about getting extradition also depends on how the other government responds to our request. What are the norms there? What is the culture of justice in those countries? So these things, of course, had to be told. And so the situation as exists on the extradition front is not necessarily a happy one. We have treaties with so many countries, yet the outcomes are not always very encouraging. So, one is this. The other is that the entire process needed to be told to the public so that they know that the hero in this case, that is Baron, how strong was her influence in getting this whole thing done. So, in order to project the good work done by a fellow police officer, I was very keen to say it all.
And ma'am, as far as the research goes, of course, police records and conversations with police officers involved in the case, including Menon herself, who helped us with a lot of information, was constantly in touch with us and sort of became a guiding force while we were writing the book, were important. And then the victim's family, people who know the perpetrator. So there are a lot of people who come together to actually bring a book out. So we depended on a lot of sources. There was intensive research. A lot of documents were in Malayalam, so those had to be translated for us to understand them. And yes, so it was a lot of research.
Yeah, because it's a small book, but as I said, a lot of things involved, a lot of research, a lot of very good writing. But Manas, tell me, I mean, for non-readers who've not read the book still, and I really want a lot of people to really reach out and really read this book. What really makes this crime so very disturbing? Maybe to a non-reader, you would like to say, why do you think it was so disturbing? I got quite disturbed about this, especially
I think
the
there are
deaths and the
several
suicides.
layers to why it is disturbing. One, it underlines the fact that people who are close to you, those you trust intimately, are often the ones who end up committing these crimes, heinous crimes. Two, it also tells you that in the wake of one crime, how entire families get destroyed, how several people burdened by the guilt of what has happened can even lose their lives. So there was a trail of things which happened in this case, which also inspired Merin to take up this cause of justice. And I think just the sheer brutality with which the human mind can work, and how this female victim was repeatedly harassed and raped, was something which really hurt me personally, and I think any sensitive person will feel that weight. And there are so many layers to it. I mean, what the family went through, how difficult it was to get the wheels of justice to move. So a lot of things, how these cases conveniently go into the cold case unit and sometimes never get taken up. This is one case which got taken up. I'm sure there are several others which are just waiting and crying for justice. So it's very disturbing at many levels.
Coming to you, Alokji, I mean, you've been such an illustrious IPS officer yourself with so many achievements, awards. But why do you think some crimes really shake a nation? I mean, there's so many crimes that you've seen happening, but why do you think there's some specific ones which really touch you at the core of your heart, which, like Marine was questioning constantly, that this needs to be done, this needs to be solved. She took it upon herself. So why do you think something like this really shakes, or maybe some crimes shakes you, and they really make you question the very profession that you are in, and you feel that yes, I need to get to the bottom of this, and this is my duty, and this is my duty towards the nation to solve this. Like, you brought this book out, I'm sure you felt really so involved in the case that you felt like that. So what was happening to Marine, and what happens to some crimes which really touch you at the core of your heart?
I think it is dependent on the perception generally that some crimes have in the public, and how the public perceives any incident depends on how close it is to their heart. My own feeling is that a case pertaining to a young 13-year-old girl, pertaining to somebody who is coming from the less fortunate class, and one who faced brutality on the part of somebody whom she had great trust in, an uncle. So all these things have happened with this girl. And so all of us who have either children or other relatives in that age group would look at any such incident in the light of what can happen to ourselves also, to our families also. And some of these happenings throw a lot of light on the way the society is going, how the society is shaping up, how crime is becoming so commonplace, and how crime is being dealt with by the society at large. And then it comes to the police also. Why some police officers are more sensitive than others are. I think some have sensitivity built into them in a very strong way. The others are more official about what happens. They look at it from the legal angle. They look at it from the angle of, what is the tradition of doing in a particular case, how the regulations are laid out, and how do we follow that written word. But if we go beyond the written word, beyond these legalities and the regulations, and look at the human heart factor, the way it impacts the mind of the people at large, the way it impacts the person individually. I think in the case of Marin Joseph, she took up this case primarily because it would have definitely made some waves in her heart herself, in her heart. So I think that is what is important for the society on the whole to respond to, and a police officer in particular in a situation that was given here. I think that is the reason.
Very right. And Manas, you've grown in the family of IPS officers. You've been with Alokji and while writing also. So, what do you think was so different? You met Marine, you've talked to her, you've done various interviews, then got to writing this book. What was so different about her that you felt that she was the one who went beyond the system and got this case solved? So, what was so different about her? What did you notice about her which was different from maybe others that you met?
It's difficult to pinpoint, but I think there is this sheen of idealism
Hmm.
which you have when you join the service, and she has not lost it. I think she's still very driven to deliver justice
Hmm.
and go above and beyond. And the experience she had in a training, which we have covered in the book, which is sometimes hard, really prepares you for these things.
Hmm.
And those who truly take lessons from what they learn in the process of becoming IPS officers
Hmm.
end up becoming better officers too. I think she took every step of her life very seriously, whether it was her academics or even running a race in school, or later then,
The essay writing also.
joining the essay writing, representing India in Australia at the Y20 summit, and so on. So everything she did with a sense of dedication. So for a person like that who has a good heart and the right bearings in life, her father was also in the civil services. So all of these things play a role because there is a tradition of government service in her family too. So when all of these things come together, then when you see a case like this, it gives you sleepless nights as a person who comes with this background and with such uh, you know such an earnest reputation in everything that she did till then. So this was something which she had to do. I feel it's like a compulsive thing. You just have to get to the bottom of certain things, otherwise they sort of haunt you for the rest of your life.
Very right. But Alok sir, one thing which is very important in this case, while I was going through the book and with your vast experience, why do you think in the first place the accused could evade the law so openly? I mean, he was from a small village, let's face it. But still he could evade the law, nobody could get to him, he could go out of the country. So what was lacking there? The system lacked in the first place. What do you think
I'm
happens in
sorry, I
such
missed your
cases?
question. Can you please repeat it? I'm sorry
Yes.
about this.
Sir, from your experience, I'd like to know that how could this lapse happen in the first place? I mean, he could go out of the country so easily after committing such a big crime. And somebody like Marine had to get back to him and get him back to the country. But I mean, why do you think such cases happen in the first place? What we need to do to
Because
kind
these
of
cases
bottle it
happen.
up in the very first step?
These cases happen. Some people say that the incidence of rape in our country is amongst the highest in the world,
Hmm.
and exploitation within families, in the extended families, is also very widely reported. So this is what our society is like. This happens here. Crimes happen. Now, why some of these crimes take so long to be taken up and brought to, and the culprits brought to justice, is something that's a very wide question. A lot of things happen when a crime is committed. First thing is that the victim or the victim's family should immediately bring it to the notice of the authorities. In this case, there was a lot of time lost.
Hmm.
Secondly, when the crime happened, did the victim tell her family, immediate
Um,
family?
she
No.
didn't.
When things came to a pass where she could not have hidden this,
Hmm.
then only the family came to know that this has happened. Her closest friend was also not aware of what had
Hmm.
happened. So these are certain things which delay the justice from appearing on the scene. One is this. The other is our procedures have got
Yeah.
to be looked into. The procedures are such
Hmm.
that they take a very long time. For instance, you mentioned earlier the procedure of getting a culprit from some other country. We have described how difficult it is,
Yes.
and therefore it takes a very long time and a lot of bureaucratic exercise to
Hmm.
succeed in this. And thirdly, we are lucky in this case that the justice, after we took the case to the courts, they were quick enough to pronounce the person guilty. Now, how did the man get away from India after committing crime? That is not difficult at all. We have so many of these great people living outside of India who have committed huge crimes and are still having a great time abroad.
Yeah.
So these are things on which I don't think I can very comment very comprehensively. All I can say is that this man who ran away was insignificant otherwise, unless he had been caught, found out and caught the way he was, we would not have known a person by the name of Takshak Satish. We knew because he was caught. So
Mhm.
these criminals get away within India or outside India. And a lot of Keralites go abroad to render services. So he had this opportunity, a low level laborer. So these are required in the Gulf countries. He found an opening and went away through an agency. So why these things sometimes gets relegated to lack of attention and importance is a very complex issue. It's not one simple answer to it.
And I also feel that this book really can open up a huge debate on extraditions. I mean, there's so many pending, as you rightly said, and nobody's been able to touch them also. So I suppose we need more officers who can really get after this and do it the way Marine.
Indeed,
So what do you
Yes,
think
absolutely.
in
about
fact,
it,
if I could
Manas?
just quickly add something there, I
Yeah.
think one of the reasons this extradition was possible is because the man in question was not carrying clout like some
Hmm.
others do,
Yeah,
who are actually not coming back to the country for reasons which are often not in the media eye, or which at least the common people do not know.
You're very right, very right. And I keep on hearing that there is a very important movie going to be there based on the book. Is it happening
Yes,
soon?
the rights have been acquired
Fantastic.
by Almighty Motion Picture, and we are very excited. The work is in progress, and we can't wait to see this on screen because I feel it's a story which a lot of people need to know. And of course, the visual medium, particularly cinema, is something which is uncomparable. That also lends more popularity to the book, so it'll reach more readers. So I'm sure the more authentic version of the story will also reach readers, and you can see perhaps a little dramatized version at the screen near you soon. So we are both very excited about
Absolutely. And
that.
what do you think about it, Alokji? I mean, I'm sure after so many books both of you have written together, this gets to be a motion picture very soon. What a proud moment for both of you.
sorry, once again, I missed it.
The feeling of it becoming a motion picture. What do you think?
Yeah, the feeling is indeed very exciting, I must say. The first, it is something that we never expected when we started writing. Suddenly, the craze for crime-related stories to be shown on OTT platforms became some kind of a huge success for the producers. So that was the reason why we got into this trend ourselves. And somehow the producers and the directors have found our stories worth being taken up for being told through their medium. So great for us also because, as you might be aware, that the books give you one kind of satisfaction when they are out in the open. They give you another kind of satisfaction, very important as important as it is. It gives us something in the bank also.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's true. That is, I think, a very good thing for writers that because of interest in visual adaptation, you also get some kind of financial returns from your writing. So that's a very good thing. And also, ma'am, this is our second book which is being adapted to screen. So the Barabanki Narcos is also, soon to be a web series.
Oh my
So
God.
that's also in
Somehow
the
I didn't know
works.
about that, but yes, I was reading about Mission Saudi being taken up, and I was feeling myself very proud of the fact that we've done, we've spoken to you so many times on our platform, and what a big moment for us as well. But
Indeed,
while
ma'am, I think
writing,
you've been a big part of our journey, and the fact that you have put the word out there, that's how it reaches producers and filmmakers. So, thank you.
but tell me one thing while I was reading the book, since it is based on a real story, so how difficult it is always to put a real story back into fiction format, though it's not a fiction format, you've been just saying that it's a real story. So the facts and the storytelling, how do you both sit together? I know we would have done this question earlier also, but again, in this book especially,
That's
how
that's
did you?
different with every book. I'm glad you asked us this question because sometimes we clearly mention that this is the true account. For instance, Fangs of Death said the true account of the Kerala snakebite murder.
Hmm.
But here we say based on India's first extradition, because based on is a word which tells you that there are certain elements which we have had to fictionalize, which we also say in the author's note, because there are certain things we do not have access to in terms of information. So there are certain blanks you have to fill. While the core of the story is absolutely true, and 80 to 90% of the book is exactly as it happened, and the story in terms of the extradition and the processes involved, Marin side of the story, all of that, it's not exactly possible to get in touch with intelligence officers from the Interpol and ask them exactly what was said when. So obviously there are certain elements which you have to fictionalize, but that balance ultimately works out. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a police officer, I have an eye for detail as far as the facts are concerned.
Yes,
And I
no
would not
doubt.
be comfortable if we depart from those facts. One, there is a procedures as have been taught to us as police officers, and the traditions of the force are things that I cannot really wash them off. They will be with me always. So when Manas and I write together, we are we are two, one of whom has never been a police officer, and the other who has been for nearly four decades a police officer. So the combination of the two coming together does have this element of a lot of facts, but they are cemented together with some fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very right. And I had one of the questions. Maybe both of you can answer separately. After writing so many books and after having so much of experience, you especially Alok sir and Manas as the partner in crime, I would say, in
Mhm.
writing and the biggest crime writing duo that we have in India right now. What does justice really mean to you? After writing so much about crime, so much of justice. Yeah, perhaps Manas, you go ahead and then Sir will answer.
Actually, I wanted to hear him first, but
Okay.
I think justice is not just what you see from the lens of law. Justice is an element of nature. Justice is often seen as an element of divinity by those who believe in it. So there is something called divine justice, there is something called natural justice, and there is something called legal justice. So we are surrounded by a lot of injustice in our lives. And justice is that one solace which all of us sort of wait for across species, across generations, across thought processes. And somewhere or the other, every person feels that they've been wronged and they seek that sense of justice, whether it is from your immediate family for a sense of hurt which you may carry from childhood, whether it is from a parent, from a spouse, from a child, or from your own self. Sometimes you feel like you have not been just to yourself. So that is one part of it. But I think what justice truly means to me is the idea of making someone's life just a little better by telling them that something was done to make sure that whatever wrong was done to you was taken care of. I know that that part of your life or that sense of the time you lost or whatever happened to you cannot be undone. But here is a little bit of relief. Here is a band aid to put on your wound. So that is what justice is for me.
So well said.
नीता कभी किसी को मुकम्मल जहाँ नहीं मिलता. So this mukammal justice, this complete justice through the processes that we have laid down in our law is, I think it's not possible. For instance, if somebody loses a member of one's family, the person is gone. Even if the person who has done it is hanged, you still feel like a victim for the rest of your life. So, in that context, a lot of these things that keep happening around us, and Manas alluded to justice all around. I think a lot of justice happens. For instance, if a particular official procedure tells you today, Neeta, then no, you are no longer fit to vote. You are no longer a citizen of this country. Sorry. How will you feel, and how long it will take for you to come back to a position where you can proudly say that you are an Indian and that you have the power to vote? Now, if this has happened, this is something very serious. And I think even if you lose your franchise just for a few months or just one election, maybe a local election for a parshad, all these things hurt you for the rest of your life. I think complete justice, a justice which really brings you out clean after a washing machine is not possible.
Very, very profoundly said. I'm sure a lot of people will really gain from your so much of knowledge in this field and what you've spoken about justice. So maybe one last word from both of you on the book. What would like to tell the readers, perhaps what we would have missed out in talking about the book? Both of you must talk
I'll
about
take
the
this one
book.
first because I think he deserves the last word. So, my last word is that please read the book. I always say this. It's a story which cuts across borders, yes, but it's also a deeply human story of a girl, a young girl who was wronged. And I think all of us, would connect with this story because at the end of the day, more than a police procedural story, this is about raw human emotion. And it really makes you introspect and think about a lot of things which you've seen in your life and how some people look the other way and how others take challenges head on. It's also a story of inspiration. And I think a lot of readers will benefit from this. A lot of people who question women in uniform must read this. They'll understand why it is imperative for us to have women in uniform and how they look at justice from a lens which is not just important but also indispensable. So please go ahead and read Mission Saudi. Get your copy, and well, it's a little different from the books we have written so far. It will be gripping, yes, but it will also make you pause and introspect. It's not unputdownable. It makes you put the book down to think, examine, and then get back to it.
Absolutely right. And Manas sir? Sorry, Alok sir? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need pauses to think about what has happened.
Yeah.
And that is when you put down the book, otherwise, you don't. Now, if you look at this cover, you'll find that the face of Marin is not there in this. The full face is not there. So, my feeling is that when readers look at this book, especially youngsters, they like to put their own face into this.
Yes.
They would like to become one like Marin. They like to become police officer. They like to become people who serve the police, the public as public servants. So my feeling is that one signal and one message that this book would give to youngsters is that there is a lot to be done. So much of injustice around us. And if we do not rise and take our role seriously in this matter, then perhaps things will never improve. So my feeling is that this book should send the signal to the reader that everyone, each individual, each citizen has the responsibility to be a good citizen. By that I mean somebody who contributes to the well-being of the society, to the well-being of the country, and to a true application of the law that we have given to ourselves.
Thank you so much. I'm sure what you've said in the last will really coax people to just grab a copy of this book and read. And I'll request everyone to definitely read the book and also write your reviews. That's so important for the authors.
That's true, ma'am. And thank you so much for having us on your channel again. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. And it's
And a
always a
word
pleasure.
for the Rue Public Publishers. They have brought
Yes.
this book out very beautifully. And the cover cover has been designed by the book bakers, and I'm sure you have liked the cover because it's quite a wonderful cover.
Beautiful
So
cover. Thank you
thanks to
so
both
much.
these agencies, also the publishers and our book bakers.
Thank you so much for taking out time on a Saturday morning. I'm sure you would have been very busy, but you still took out time and we could talk. And yet again, I've enjoyed this conversation so much. And yes, till the next time, we look forward to many more books. So anything, Alaya, I wanted to ask you, what's next? What are we going to talk about next? When are we getting the next book?
That's a difficult question. Why that is difficult is because we have many in the works. So which one comes out next, I don't know.
All right.
But there's one story which is rooted in again in the Hindi heartland, which is a story of gangsters.
Okay.
So maybe something on that path. But I think another likely book is a book I'm writing solo, which is a book on bullying,
Okay.
a personal journey. I went through that in my early years of school, and I think a lot of people need to know that story. So one of these two.
Yes, he's a bullied person. Anyways,
Hard to
the
believe,
book
though, but yes, I'm
Maanas
sure.
alluded to, the other book that we are close to completion, is very close to my heart, and it is about an incident that happened in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh,
Okay.
which is like Wasipur and such other places,
Hmm.
notorious for its crime. And we are happy to have found a story which matches the worst of that area. So wait for that book, it's going to be out.
Definitely. For both the books, we'll be waiting, and I'm sure we'll have another conversation as soon as you take out the books. And all the
Thank you.
best for
That
the
is so kind
movie,
of you. Thank you.
all the best for the book, and we look forward to again talking to you and meeting you in person very shortly. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
Thank
for
much.
you.
being
Thank
here
you.
with
Thank
us
you.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you.